All right, welcome back to the TD Sports Press Podcast. We are back on January 11th. We have a lot of things that we're going to get to with this podcast. We have our national championship. As you guys know, we're going to break down both those semifinals games. What are my thoughts? We're going to be talking about targeting. How can we get targeting out of college football? We'll talk about that. And then lastly, some transfer portal news, some huge news in the South. And yeah, we will get to that point of the podcast. But thank you for everyone that has made it to this point. So we really do appreciate it. Really does help us out. So without further ado, let's get into the first game of the day. Our first game of the day, Miami beats Ole Miss 31-27 in the Fiesta Bowl. Miami was a 3.5-point favorite in this game. And Miami, we'll talk about Miami before we get to Ole Miss. We talk about winners here first. You look at Miami, like the start of the game, they were able to run the football. That is one thing that was one of the keys of the game to Miami, is be able to hold the line of scrimmage, and they were able to do that. They got stops on defense early on. They put some points on. It was scripted the way that it should have been. Like, Miami did everything that they needed to win the football game. The first half, Miami was up the entire time. Ole Miss did break that. Lacey did break that long run for a touchdown, but for the most part, Miami's defense held serve in that first half. Ole Miss wasn't able to do a lot in the first half, and that's credit to Miami. The thing I would say about the first half, as we keep talking about this, is Miami, they got to clean up some things. They go on these drives, their play calling gets a little bit sloppy in my opinion. Miami should have you look at the first half, they should have just ran the ball every single play. Like, they were honestly averaging 4 to 5 yards a carry. It was kind of crazy. It looked like one of those teams that, when you played in high school, where they just did whatever they wanted, and they would try to get too cute, I felt like. We'll talk about the second half. Different story. We'll talk about what I thought about that. But the first half, man, I think that Miami really left a lot of points on the board. They had the missed field goal, but yeah, Ole Miss, they couldn't do anything in the first half, honestly. They did have that long run. Outside of that long run, they probably had like 50 yards, maybe 40 yards of offense in the first half. And that was just a breakdown by the Miami linebackers not tackling. Like, they got to come up and make those tackles. And you got to get in the early on. You look at that first possession, Miami was really bringing the pressure. They were really bringing the pressure. They got that 3 and out, and they kind of went away of it in the second half. So, you look at the first half, you would have thought Miami would have been up, 2 to 3 touchdowns instead of what the current score was going into that. Now let's talk about the second half. That's really where the game got kind of crazy. Ole Miss and Miami, they kept getting into field goal range. I think Miami missed a field goal, and then Ole Miss missed a field goal, and then Ole Miss got a field goal. And to me, Miami was trying to it looked like to me Miami was a little bit conservative in their defensive play calling. They didn't bring as much pressure as they normally do. I found that kind of ironic, because that was like the staple of why Miami beat Ohio State. And you look at it, Trinidad Chambles, what he did at Georgia, I can understand why Miami did that, but it was working in the first half. That's what's the other thing. Now, the third quarter play calling by Miami was crazy. One possession that comes to my mind first off is when Miami's driving the ball, they're running the football. They got those two running backs that are really good in the backfield, and then Miami just does a flea flicker out of nowhere. They didn't have to do that. That pushed them out of field goal range, and that stopped them from getting points on the board. It was crazy. Seriously, if you look at this game, you look at the time of possession, and you look at Miami went on long drives. They just didn't capitalize on half of them. The other problem for Miami, which we haven't talked about, penalties. Miami did not play a clean game, but they won the game. They did enough to win the game. We'll talk about the end of the game, but you look at, Miami, they'd have like a huge run, and they'd have like a holding call, or you look on defense, they get a huge third down stop, and then next thing you know, there's a personal foul penalty or something like that. And the biggest thing for Miami, holy smokes, their DBs need to hit the jugs machine before they play Indiana, because they couldn't catch anything. They probably had 4 interceptions that they should have had. They should have had at least 2. You could make that 1 for 4. The one that I think about, Miami just dropped. There was a deep shot from Trinidad. It was a tip ball, and the safety, maybe it was a safety or corner, I'm trying to remember which one it was, just had his hands out like this and dropped it. It was crazy. So Miami had a lot of missed opportunities, a lot of penalties, which is why Ole Miss hung around. You get in the fourth quarter, Ole Miss scores a touchdown, and then Miami goes down, gets a field goal. And then Ole Miss, Trinidad goes on another. Trinidad was awesome in the second half. He struggled in the first half, but at the end of the day, the Carson Beck defining moment. Carson Beck has played about 5 years of college football, and he has not had that moment yet. He hasn't had that legacy moment. Ole Miss scores, and he trots out with 3:42 to go. The possession before, they went 5 plays, 70 yards, and a touchdown for a Malachi Tony screen pass touchdown. And then Ole Miss goes down and scores. And, I think Miami was down 4. I think Miami was down 4 in this drive. So they had to have a touchdown to win the game. Or maybe they were down 3. They were probably down 3. They were down 3. But, to Carson Beck on third down, that was so huge for Miami. They were so good on third down. They were in 3rd and 8. They were in 3rd and 10. And Carson Beck kept making play after play. And you can hate on Carson Beck all you want, and that is probably the best game of his career. I know that he's had, in terms of the magnitude of the moment. That last drive, they just went down and marched, and they just kept marching, and then he capped it off with that. I almost wondered if that Miami, Carson Beck kind of knew he was going to take off, because if you look at the route concept on that last play that Miami ran, Miami, half their team, all the wideouts, because Ole Miss was in man coverage, they all went to the right side of the screen. There was nobody on the left side of the screen. I was wondering if Carson Beck was actually looking to throw it, or if he was just waiting for them to clear it out because he understood that it was man coverage and go out and score. And yeah, that was a defining moment. That was a defining drive for Carson Beck, who's been a really good quarterback in college. He just has not had that moment. Which was, awesome to see for Carson Beck. So, huge moment in the game was that drive, obviously. And then Ole Miss gets the ball, and Trinidad, they do their best to get down to about the 34, 35-yard line. They throw that long pass. You've seen it all on the internet. Ole Miss fans want a pass interference. It was not. They're never going to call that. It's not pass interference. It wasn't even close. I can understand why, but both players had hands on. If you wanted to make the case that was, pass interference, then it would have been hands on the face on the Ole Miss receiver first, which would have been offset penalties, which I think they would have got one more down, or I don't remember. It's either that or they offset and the game ends. So it's one of those two. So it wasn't like it, but Ole Miss didn't lose the game because of that call. That was not why Ole Miss lost. Ole Miss lost because they couldn't stop the run. They could not stop it whatsoever. I think that Miami had more running plays than Ole Miss had total plays in the game. At least at one point it was. I'm pretty sure at the end of the game that Miami had more running plays than Ole Miss did plays. So, that's your breakdown right there. If you're going to be able to control the line of scrimmage, you're probably going to win the football game. Even with how bad Miami kicked themselves in the foot with turnovers, missed turnover opportunities, and just stupid penalties. Miami had so many stupid penalties. There's a lot of things. They're going to play Indiana, and they're going to have to play a clean game, because if Miami plays the kind of game they did against Ole Miss, they'll lose. They will. You cannot have those. There was, personal fouls. One guy clobbered Chambles with his arm. It was stupid. It's just there was a lot of stupid penalties by Miami that they have to figure out going into Indiana. So, and then you look at the outlook for Ole Miss. Ole Miss, it's not good that they lost, but from where they have and what Pete Golding did for Ole Miss, getting them into the semifinals, somewhere they haven't been forever, or at least in the college football era. I think they have one national championship that was the voters decided it, but what a run for Ole Miss. You look out, they're going to have to probably find a way to replace Chambles. Chambles' waiver got denied, but obviously we all know how those things work. So he'll probably be back. It'll probably go to the courts and all those good things. So that's, something that will probably happen. And yeah, they're going to have to keep that team together. They're going to have to refill in the transfer portal. But Ole Miss fans should be, they should really be happy for that team. That team did a really good job for Ole Miss. So moving on from that game, huge game for Miami. Like I said, Miami will now be playing in the national championship at their home stadium. So that is something to keep in mind going into national championship. We haven't seen that in forever. Moving on, the other second game, the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Indiana downs, or I say downright embarrassed Oregon, 56-22. There was a lot of people going into this game saying, "Oh, Oregon, they're gonna win. They're gonna win this." And if you guys have been following the channel, you guys know that I picked Indiana to win by 2+ touchdowns, and I didn't expect them to win by this much, but 56-22. Let's take a quick look at this game. First play of the game, Indiana gets that pick six. I don't know what Dante Moore was reading. That was a horrible read. That's not a quarterback. I mean, we were talking about Fernando and Dante Moore. At least I was. This was a battle for the first pick. I mean, Dante Moore goes out and throws a pick first play of the game. I mean, there's just nothing that you can do after you do that. Yes, Oregon went down and drove, but once if Indiana can score on special teams or defensively, there's not. I just don't see a way they get beat. I just don't see it, especially if they score with their defense or their a kick return, punt return, something of that nature. And Dante Moore, I just was not good. I mean, Oregon. We'll talk about Oregon's outlook. Let's talk about Indiana. Indiana needs to give the respect that they're earned. There's a lot of people that will not give credit to Indiana. I don't understand why. Fernando's awesome. I mean, look at that. I think it was 21-7, and then they threw that deep shot. Like, that ball was right on the money for that touchdown. Right on the money. And they did whatever they wanted. What Indiana did is illegal in about 48 different states. Maybe it's 50. Maybe this one's a 50 state. It's illegal in 50 states, what they did to Oregon. This is like standing up to the middle school bully, and that's what Indiana did. I mean, Kirk Cignetti, you cannot talk about a better turnaround in college sports than Indiana football. Honestly, this might be the best story in sports history. Indiana football might be the best sports story ever. I mean, you just talk about it. I mean, the way that they're winning games. Look at the last three games that Indiana's played. They played Ohio State. They beat them. They played Alabama. They beat them. They played Oregon. They beat them. They blew out two of those three opponents. Like, those three teams have been on top of the college football world for like the last 10 to 15 years, and even longer in Alabama and Ohio State's case. Oregon really turned on in the early 2010s. So yeah. But I mean, Indiana just comes out of nowhere. They hire this guy from James Madison. He comes in saying, "Google me, and we're gonna win, and we're gonna change the culture." And it wasn't. It was never about words. He showed it. And yeah, Indiana's a great story. Indiana's gonna be moving on to the national championship, and Fernando's gonna be the first pick in the draft. I don't know why the Raiders wouldn't take him. That'd be absolutely crazy if they didn't. Honestly. He should be the number one pick, and it shouldn't even be close. So, and then you look at Oregon. Let's look at Oregon's outlook of this game. When is Dan Lanning going to win a big game? I hate to say it, but when is Dan Lanning going to win a game that's mattered? You look at, but they have climbed the ladder. You look at the last year of the Pac-12. They made it all the way to the Pac-12 championship and got beat by Washington. Then that last year, they got beat, they won the Big Ten. Then they went to the quarterfinals and got blown out by Ohio State. Now they went to the semifinals, played Indiana, and got blown out. So I can understand that, yes, they're, making leaps and bounds. But at some point, Dan Lanning needs to win the big one. If he is going to talk as much as that guy does, and he does a lot of talking, and I don't mind it, but the way he talks, and people say, "Oh, well, what, Kirk Cignetti hasn't done anything." Yeah, he's undefeated. He can talk like that. And then, yeah, Dan Lanning, he's got to win. I mean, he's in the category of maybe like, I don't want to say Ryan Day because Ryan Day won a national championship, but like Dan Lanning and Ryan Day are two peas in a pod. They just, they take bigger chunks out than most of the time they can get. And Oregon, it didn't help Oregon that they didn't have like any running backs. I'm not sure what that situation was. It was crazy. The injury report for Oregon was, it was one of the craziest things you've seen, honestly. So, but yeah, Oregon's got to, find a different direction from this. They need to find a way to get back in this situation again next year and maybe win that game. But there's a lot of things for Oregon. I mean, they got embarrassed. Let's just call it out. It is Indiana embarrassed Oregon, and it was crazy. I mean, like I said, I thought that Indiana would win by 2+ touchdowns, but the way they won was even more wild. So absolutely great win for Indiana. Great story. Like I said, I think it's the best story in sports history so far. I mean, if they win the national championship, I think it's undisputed the best story in college. It's not even just college, in sports. So huge win for Indiana. Indiana, Miami in the national championship. Not this Monday. I think this episode will come out Sunday night, but not this Monday, but the next Monday. So they got a 10-day layover, and that game will be at Miami. And we will preview this game, the national championship. If I had to guess, that next episode would probably be out Thursday. But if you guys are new to TD Sports Press and you guys are still here, make sure you guys follow the channel. It really goes a long way. We've been putting a lot of money into this channel, and we're starting to see results. We're starting to get better quality presentations, all those good things. So make sure, it's thanks to you guys. So we really do appreciate it. So those are the two semifinal games, and now I wanted to, yes, this is my next topic. Should Dante Moore stay one more year at Oregon? And this is, well, I'm going to redo that. Should Dante Moore stay at Oregon one more year? Absolutely. This is one of those, like I said, I try to get one of those those mailbox questions from you guys into here, and this is what I'm going to talk about. Dante Moore should stay one more year at Oregon. Not just because I want Dante Moore to stay, and that makes college football even better, but there's a lot of aspects of Dante Moore's game that needs refining. He's still a young kid. And I know I'm young too, but he is still really young. He has some improvement to make. And he's got to be able to make better decisions with the football. Dante Moore, there's a lot of careless turnovers that he had, I would say. And he needs to be able to fix that to be able to play at the next level. And Oregon, I think that Oregon would be maybe the odds-on favorite to win it again next year. Odds-on favorite to win it next year, not again, to win it next year if Dante Moore comes back. They have a really good team coming back. They just need that quarterback. And I think that Dante Moore, the best thing for his future going into next year would be going back to college football and playing one more year. I think that's really obvious. And, yeah, I think that Dante Moore would really do well with that. So that's one of our mailbox questions. Our next mailbox question that we have from you guys, targeting out of college football. I could not agree with this comment from this person more than ever. Targeting is the dumbest penalty that there is. I understand the intent of what targeting is. I understand what they're trying to get rid of in college football. But it doesn't mean it's right. I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to save themselves from a lawsuit. Where they say, hey, we're really trying with these concussions. We have a penalty if you accidentally put your head down. It's just egregious. The part where you're thrown out of the game because you made a football tackle is one of the. We should honestly play two-hand touch at this point. I look at an example for the Miami Ole Miss. At the end of the game, Miami got called for targeting, and yes, it was. The definition of target, but he's making a football play. The Ole Miss guy is lowering his helmet because he's lowering his levels. So Miami is airborne. He's not able to have the same advantage and get his head up to make that play. And now he has to sit out the first half of the national championship because he had his head down. Targeting is stupid. I don't know anyone in this space that likes targeting. If you want to keep targeting and have a 15-yard penalty, so be it. Be my guest. But kicking out of a player for targeting, more people do more to get unsportsmanlike conducts than they do targeting. And you probably look at the statistics, there's probably more people getting thrown out for targeting than unsportsmanlike conducts. It is the dumbest rule in college football. It just ruins football for me. There's nothing that targeting does. There's nothing that it benefits from. Guess what? I'm going to tell you how football is. And if you guys don't like it, I don't care. Football is a physical sport. You know what you signed up for when you play football. End of story. Heavens, why don't we just put bubble wrap on all these players? And maybe that'll make it safer. It's just, I don't know. College football, targeting, it hasn't benefited anyone in 10 years. Tell me one person that's benefited. And I don't like it. We kick out players. We kick out captains, those linebackers, those I think of strong safeties that go, that are hard-nosed football players and go and making tackles, and we're just gonna throw him out. Oh, he had his head down. He had his head down. So stupid. Get out of here with it. Get out of here with it. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible for the game. Terrible for the game. And then the last part that we're gonna hit before we get out of here, transfer portal news. Dylan Raiola will be going on a visit to Oregon. We'll see if he actually ends up going there. He is going on a visit. No one knows where Sam Levitt is going to. He was at a Tennessee visit, and then that Desmond Williams, the Washington quarterback, is staying at Washington after that whole thing. And now LSU does not have a quarterback. As of right now, they did just sign an Elon quarterback, a quarterback from Elon. But I think that Lane Kiffin's still going to make a play at Sam Levitt. He was in Knoxville, Tennessee. He posted it on his Twitter. He let the whole world know what he was doing. At the same time, Sam Levitt was there. Sam Levitt will go visit Miami next. Yeah, I mean, Sam Levitt, he's obviously chasing the bag, which is why he hasn't made a decision. Coleman from Auburn is going to Texas. That is a huge move for Arch Manning in Texas. That changes a lot of things. It is going to be really fun to see that connection down in Austin with that premier wide receiver. He's probably getting paid over $3 million, and that's absolutely crazy for a position that's not a quarterback position regardless. That's obviously crazy. So that is a transfer portal news up to this point. There's that's up to this point. There's now a bound receiver going to Texas A&M. I forgot the name off the top of my head as well. But yeah, that is our full episode of the TD Sports Press College Football Show. With that being said, we will be back live Thursday or Friday. In that time, go check out our TikTok. We go live every day with TikTok, all those good things. With that being said, have a great night.